outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. And since there's no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Man, it doesn't show signs of stopping. And I've brought me some corn for popping. The lights are turned way down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. When we finally kiss goodnight, how I hate going out in the storm. Hi Patricia, welcome in. We're talking about Venus today. Hey Jack. Slowly dying, my dear. Hey, how are you? How are you feeling today? Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. So we're going to talk about Venus today, the planet of love. Oh, thank you for the daily heart me. Let me get my sound effects. Good night. How I hate. Thank you for the daily heart. All the way home I'll be warm. Fire is slowly dying. So we're talking about Venus today, the planet of love, creativity. Oh, thank you for the roses. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. So today we want to talk about Venus, the planet of love, and why today is a day for healing, because Venus is trining Chiron, which is the wounded healer. So in mythology, Chiron was actually a centaur. It was the Sagittarius emblem. Like the Sagittarius is part horse, part human, and Chiron was that mythological creature. And Chiron was wounded, he was crippled, but he was magical and he was a teacher. Hi, Aquarius Theory, welcome in. So we'll be talking today about Venus, the planet of love, connection, creativity. Hi, how are you today? Thanks for stopping in. Hi, Hysteria, welcome in. So yes, Venus today trined Chiron. And so we wanted to talk today. Hi, I'm doing pretty good. I'm really tired today. I might not, thank you for the daily heart me. I might not be live for long. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for the daily heart me. Hi, Mandy, welcome in. So I don't know if I told you guys, but I work with teens. I work at a youth center. We're trying to put on this musical, Little Shop of Horrors. If you've ever seen the very campy, oh, thank you for the gifts and the roses. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Thank you. And so we're putting on this musical, Little Shop of Horrors, and I've never directed a play before. I've been in lots of musicals. I love acting. I love singing. Feed me. Yes. Feed me Seymour. And so today I finally found a life-size 6-foot man-eating plant puppet. So the only way that we were able to get it was to rent it for $500, which I work at a nonprofit. So for them to tell me yes, I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, we'll do it. If the kids really want to do it, you will do it. So they had me rent a U-Haul this morning, drive out to Garden City, Michigan, get this plant. There's 4 Audrey 2s. Audrey 2 is the man-eating plant. And so there's Audrey 2A, which is about this size. Then B is about this size. Then C is about from here to here. I don't know if you guys can see me. And then Audrey 2D is a 6-foot puppet. in two parts. And so we loaded it in the truck, brought it back to the not to my job. Then I had to take the truck back. Then I had to go to another high school that I go to every Thursday because it's our last day there before winter break. So we made they wanted to make pancakes for the holidays. So we made chocolate chip pancakes. Then I went back to my job and we unpacked the plant, took some photos, and I'm tired. Long story short. So today I wanted to talk though about Venus because as I was reading up on the transit today, on the trine between Venus and Chiron. Venus is the planet of love, connection, harmony, love, romance, creativity, all of that. Yeah, very busy. Yeah, a lot of movement. And so with Venus touching on Chiron in a trine today, I think it's a good opportunity for healing, but it got me to looking at what else Venus is going to do this week. That was around, hold on, let me double check. That was around 4:17 p.m. today was Venus and Chiron connected in a trine. And so it got me to looking at the rest of the transits for Venus this week and Saturday. And this is what I was saying about all the planets that are in Sagittarius, right? Is that as they move through Sagittarius, as they get to the end, the Mars has already done this. The Sun has started this cycle, but all these planets will, as they move into Capricorn, before they move into Capricorn, they will square Saturn, which, as we know, Saturn is the greater malefic. So that's a challenging transit. All of them will have their opportunity to square Saturn, and then they'll square Neptune, the planet of illusion, disillusion, and almost like deception, um, truth and lies, what's real, what's not. It's all of these hazy things. Neptune is like the trickiest planet for me to explain, and that's probably for a reason, just because it's hard to pin down. It's hard to kind of grasp. It's very illusory, and so all of these planets will make these transits, and Venus on Saturday will square Neptune. And it got me to thinking about a live. I remembered a live that I did. I don't know. Yeah, it's a wild time to be alive for sure, Asteria. And so, for you though, Venus trined Chiron at 1:17 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hi, Vincier, welcome in. And so it got me to thinking about a live that I did. I don't know if you remember this, Hysteria, but it was back in April. I had to double check. It was back in April when I started doing lives, and it was when Venus was aligned with Saturn, and it was Venus, Saturn, and the North Node, and then Venus aligned with Neptune. And it was this really kind of beautiful, kind of like hazy romantic atmosphere around that time that I recall, because Venus, the planet of love, was connecting with first Saturn, where we were getting like serious about matters of the heart or matters of our creativity, or our connectiveness, our connections with people. And then it was a conjunction with Neptune, which was very like rosy, kind of like La Vie en Rose, like rose colored glasses. It just felt like a really kind of beautiful landscape for like dreaming and hoping for the future and all of that. So that happened, and I looked back at that, and that was April 24th to the 28th of 2025. And the reason why I looked back at that is because if we look back at that time, and I'm going to pull it up on our chart here. If we pull up April of 2025, and follow me here, I'm going somewhere with it. April of 2025. Hold on. And that's when they were conjunct, and they were in, I want to say Taurus, April 24th. What is that? I'm so tired, guys. Let's just go to the 25th and cast the chart. Okay. So if we look at the chart here, we have, where is Venus? Venus is right here at 27 degrees with Saturn at 27 degrees. And that's when Venus and Saturn were aligned in Pisces. And this was April of 2025. Okay. So if we fast forward to now, you notice that they're here. And then we update to now. We have, where's Pisces? Here's Saturn, because Saturn moved so slow. And Saturn went retrograde and then stopped, and now it's back into forward motion. But we have Saturn with Neptune still in Pisces, but now we have Venus at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. And here I'll put this, show the aspect so you can see this square. So now we have this square. So welcome in, Cat. So this is where we have a pivot point to the story that began in April. That's me making a long story long instead of long story short. But long story short, this is a pivot point or a critical turning point in a story, welcome in, Paula, that began in April of 2025. So I want you guys to think back to what was going on in April and when we had that transit where Venus was aligning with Saturn. And remember, Saturn is the great malefic. It's about boundaries and time and rules and structures, okay? And so in April, this was a time when we were trying to build some kind of stability when it comes to our love lives, our connections with people, our creativity perhaps, or something that we were working on creating, or a way that we wanted to present, or something like that. And so now that we are at this critical turning point where we have a square, so it's just like with the moon, where like if you think of Venus and Saturn as like a new moon moment, then this is, it's not an opposition, which would be a full moon moment, but like a quarter moon moment. And so it's where there's some kind of pivot or some kind of push or some kind of bumping up against each other, because when we have a square, it's a challenging transit, it's a challenging angle between the two planets. So when in April they were aligned with each other, welcome in, Jahi. In April they were aligning with each other, and we're starting this story, and now there's some tension there, but we need tension to push the story forward, right? So the question is, where is this happening for us? And the tricky part is that just like before in April, we had this alignment of Venus and Saturn right before an alignment of Venus and Neptune. And so Neptune kind of complicates things, because Saturn wants to build, like I said, the structures and the boundaries. Welcome in, Mads. Structure and boundaries when it comes to matters of the heart, or creativity, or connection, or harmony, or beauty, aesthetic, those things. And then we have this pivot point. Hi, Spirit of Love, welcome in. So we have this pivot point where there's some kind of push, some kind of pressure, some kind of turning point that's going to come up on Saturday to push the story forward, okay? Yes. Hey. Welcome in. Oh, thank you for the daily heart me. Thank you guys for the support. This is so awesome. So this is where we're going to come up against this weekend, is another turning point in the story of Venus and Saturn. And so, like I was saying, Venus and Saturn want to create that stability. But then Neptune is all about illusion and disillusionment. And it's about if Saturn wants to create structures, Neptune wants to dissolve them all again. And Neptune is very powerful right now. Neptune is in the sign of Pisces, which, if you go by traditional or modern astrology, Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. I study ancient astrology, so we still favor Jupiter as the ruler of Pisces, but it does not mean that Neptune and Pisces are not still in some way connected or aligned. Welcome in, Montes. So when we have this 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 kind of hazy, kind of even romantic and illusory energy of Neptune, which is interfering with the structures and the boundaries and the taskmaster that Saturn wants to be, right? So we have that energy happening as well. And Venus will square, let me double check this. Venus will square Neptune on Tuesday. So this is a whole storyline of Venus aligning with Saturn and then Neptune in the end of April. And then now, months later, Venus is squaring both of those planets and creating some kind of pivot or some kind of shift to it, okay? It is intense. And so I'm just wondering how this is playing out for you guys. Like, this is all in front of the new moon in Sagittarius, which is kind of a fully loaded new moon because we have not only is the sun and moon in Sagittarius, but we have, if you look at the chart here, if we even, okay, let's cast the chart to today. Let's go back to today. And if we look ahead one day here, because the new moon is tomorrow. The new moon is tomorrow at 5:43 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So with the new moon here, we have the sun and the moon, which we need them together for the new moon, but we also have Venus here and we have Mercury here. And we also have this new moon being challenged by Neptune and Saturn. Hi, Jeep and John. And so this is not actually a new moon that I would work with, to be fair, because it is a challenged new moon and it's being challenged by the greater malefic Saturn. So we have the sun, which has just squared Saturn, the moon, which has squared Saturn and will square Neptune. Then Venus will do so. So this is a lot of tension and a lot of contradictory energy with which to plant seeds. However, and there's a big however, we do have a solstice. And the solstice is like a new moon moment for the sun. It's the beginning of the solar cycle. So, follow me here. We have a new moon, which is the darkest moment in the sky because the sun and the moon are together. The sun is not reflecting off the moon, so there's no light, and it's a dark moon. So we have the moon at its darkest point on Friday, and then we have the sun at its darkest point. It's a fresh start where it goes down into the underworld and emerges in a new solar cycle and then begins to grow again. That's why after the winter solstice, the days start to grow again. The sun begins to grow in power. So, whereas this is not a new moon that I would work with because of the Saturn square, I would definitely take this time to focus in on the solstice and the rebirth of the sun and the solar cycle that will begin again. So, in terms of setting intentions, in terms of doing our our goals, our intentions for the year, this is the time to do it. Not on Friday, tomorrow, the 19th. However, I would do it on Sunday, the winter solstice. Okay, does that make sense? Because if we bump ahead to Sunday, we have a really powerful moment where the sun is at 0 degrees of Capricorn. And so once the sun moves into Capricorn at 0 degrees, it's no longer bound to this square with Saturn and Neptune and Pisces. It's out of the line. It's very mathematical. Yes, the Cap energy is so helpful. Yes. So once the sun moves into Capricorn, it's no longer bound to the whole sign square to Neptune and Saturn. So we're restarting. Yes, exactly. So this is our new year moment on the 21st. And that's why, even though I was tired, I was like, we gotta hop on so we can talk about what's happening with Venus today, what's happening with Venus this weekend. Yeah, to let go of and expand. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Welcome in, Wildflower and O. Thank you guys for joining. So, this is a great time to be reflecting and figuring out what to take forward with us into the new year, because as we know, New Year's Eve is a Gregorian calendar. It's something that we all agree on as a holiday, but there is nothing in terms of the natural rhythm of the calendar that we follow as astrologers. If you are following the rhythms of the earth and the sky, then New Year's Day is not. Hi, Genesis. Oh my gosh, my baby girl. Hey, Pumpkin. Welcome in. I was just talking about how this is a new start as we begin the new year. And so the New Year's Day and New Year's Eve is a man-made Gregorian calendar holiday. But what we're really celebrating in this whole season is the solstice. That's why we do the Christmas trees. That's why we bring the light inside the house, because we are observing the darkest night, the longest night, okay? And this is where the night has the most power. The sun is the shortest day of the year, either the 20th or the 21st typically, and it's this year it's on the 21st. And so it's a rebirth for the sun, because what's going to happen is it's like the sun going down into the underworld and then re-emerging in Capricorn to begin its upward trajectory. And as it starts to move, this is how all of the seasons, and this is why we still follow the Western calendar. It is so beautiful, Asteria. I agree. This is why we still follow the calendar, because the solstices and the equinoxes are still where they are supposed to be. It's still the shortest day of the year. And even though the constellations have shifted, and New York Times does an article every like 9 to 10 months or so about how our zodiac signs have changed, and the constellations have shifted, and that's true. But we follow the path of the sun. So if we're following the path of the sun, once it's rebirthed into Capricorn, what does it start to do? It starts to grow. Each day is a little bit longer. Then we get to Imbolc, or what we celebrate as Groundhog's Day. And that's where we get to midwinter. That's another point where the sun is growing in power. Then we get to the equinox, where it starts to really move upwards towards what was going to be the next solstice, which is in June. And that's when the sun is at its most powerful. It's my favorite holiday. And my favorite time of year is when the sun is the most powerful, when we have the summer solstice, right? And so what happens at the summer solstice is that it reaches its top peak. It reaches its highest height in its brightest, longest day. And then what it starts to do, it starts to come back down, right? And then we're going back down for the rest of the 6 months till we get to the winter solstice again. So this is the whole cycle of the sun. And so even though this new moon is not a great moon to work with, the sun is starting its new system, its new story, its new cycle. So it's a beautiful time to set your intentions for the year. It's really the beginning of the solar year. So that's the beauty of the solstice. Yeah. So you put a sun emoji in the chat if you feel me on that. Okay, guys, let's put some comments in the chat with sun emojis if you have them. Yes, you're ready. Thank you for the I'm ready. Thank you, guys. So let's look at, let's just look at briefly where Capricorn is for you, because that's where we're going to be. Oh, thank you guys for the emojis. Thank you. Hi, Loveritzy. I love that. Okay. So let's look at where that is for everybody. So we'll just do a quick pass through of where this is for everyone. So if we bump ourselves to the 21st, and this is the solstice, we have the sun at 0 degrees. So for Cancers, for my Cancer risings, and we'll just go from Cancer back around to Gemini. You've got Cap rising in the 12th and 1st. Okay, that is a really monumental then for you, because and we'll get to Capricorn, but that means that this is happening in your first house of identity of the self. And so the fact that the solstice is a recharge on who you are, your personality, how you present, your body, your story. Yeah. So for Cancer rising, and we'll get there. Hi, Phase. For Cancer rising, the solstice happens in their 7th house of relationships, partnerships, and connection. And this is the house whereas the first house represents who you are and how you show yourself to the world, the 7th house is kind of who you connect with and what that means about who you are, right? So with the sun being in the 7th house for my Cancer risings, which keep in mind, Cancer risings have Jupiter here, and this is a whole other story, which I'll talk about at a different time. The fact that all of these planets that were in Sagittarius are going to move into Capricorn, and then they're going to oppose Jupiter. But that's a whole other story. But for my Cancer risings, this is happening in the 7th house of partnership, of love, of relationships. This is a good time to ponder those things, to set intentions as far as where you want to grow in love and harmony in your relationships and your partnerships. Oh, thank you for stopping in, Mandy. Absolutely. Thank you. And so this is a pivotal moment for Cancer risings. Since this isn't a cardinal sign, this will be a bigger moment for all of the cardinal signs. Hi, Ella. Welcome in. Good to see you. And so let me move this to hours. Let's quickly move on to Leo rising, and that's me. So for Leo rising, this is in our 6th house. And I don't mean to be a bah humbug, but Capricorn in the 6th house. Okay, we deal with it, right? And that's what this is all about. It's about your daily trials and toiling and what we sacrifice for and what we put hard work into. It's about what we work hard for, what we sacrifice for, and that's in a way of kind of figuring out what's worth the hard work and what's not, right? Because this is not the 10th house of career or fame. It's the 6th house of work, health, and some would say even hidden enemies and sacrifice. So for Leo risings, I think what this really is about for setting intentions is about figuring out what's worth the sacrifice in our lives as we move into Capricorn season. Okay, just to make that a long story short. Okay, and let's move on to Virgo. Moving on to Virgo. Okay, for Virgo, we have a new start, a new solar cycle beginning in the fifth house. Yep. For our Virgo risings, this is in our fifth house of pleasure, creativity, children. And so I think for Virgo risings, this will be a new start. You want to begin the year out pondering those things that make you feel creative, that make you feel playful, that make you feel pleasure, okay? This is about having fun. This is Virgo, you have the green light to have fun in New Year's, okay? Whenever you see this fifth house for Virgo, I hope that my Virgo risings can tap into that fun, free energy, especially since this is Capricorn in that house. But it's important to take your pleasure seriously. Take your fun and your playfulness and your creativity and your children, or even that childlike appreciation or that childlike awe for life, to take that seriously. Okay, so that's for my Virgo risings. We're going to move through these real quick. Libra. So for Libra, again, this is pivotal because Libra is a cardinal sign. So this is a new solar cycle for Libra starting in the fourth house of family, roots, ancestry, home, and the mother. Okay. And so what I always say about the fourth house is it's not only about family, but it's also about the programs that we take on because of our families, right? And so this is something important for Libra to ponder. What's helpful, what to take into the new year as far as our familial connections, our home, and things of that nature, as far as what to leave behind, what to take forward, as far as home, family, the mother, our roots, and our ancestry. Okay. Then we move on to Scorpio. For Scorpio, this is going to be in our third house of daily life, of the mind, of our daily rituals. And I always talk about the third house as like your everyday moments, the mundane, but this is where we actually live and breathe and experience a lot of life, right? So for my Scorpios, we want to be checking in about our daily rituals, about our mental health, about our daily talk, mental talk to ourselves, our self talk, or rather, and how we are relating to those that we see on a daily basis. The third house is our everyday people, what I call, because if we're children, it's our siblings, right? But if we're adults and we don't live with our siblings, it could be roommates, it could be coworkers, people that you see on an everyday basis, people who see the ins and outs and the everyday of you, right? So this is about your relationships in that realm and about your relationship to yourself on your everyday level, in your everyday, in the quiet moments, right? And that's where our mental health lives, right? Because it's where we are, it's where we exist, is in our everyday moments. All right. So that's important for Scorpio as we start a new year. Now we move on to Sagittarius, and this is in the second house of worth. And by worth, I don't necessarily just mean money, because we are worth more than just our finances or a currency or a number and an account on the internet that's erroneous. It's about the worth that we assign to ourselves, and it's about resources, which is not just money either. Resources, thank you, Asteria. Resources are about what we have to offer in terms of not just money, but time, effort, energy, all of that. So, welcome in, highly blessed. So, for Sagittarius, we're starting a new cycle, a new year with our wealth in mind. And by wealth, I mean our worthiness, our worth as far as what we assign to ourselves and the resources that we have that we keep for ourselves and for others. But I think what's really important in the second house is the resources that you have for yourself. Because if we're talking about resources you have for others and theirs for you, then we're in the eighth house. But for my Sag risings, we want to focus in on our worth and our resources. Okay, let's move on. We're moving on to Capricorn. Let's see here as soon as this loads. Okay, for Capricorn, Wildflower, and oh, yay! This is really pivotal for y'all because this is your season. We're starting the season of your first house. This is the first in ancient astrology. Your rising sign is is paramount to the rest of your chart. It's at the helm of your birth chart, and it's how you present, how you go after it's how you achieve the plot line of your life, which is where your sun is. But the rising sign is about what's a good way to put it? Your rising sign is really about how you step into your natal promise, right? And so, as a Capricorn rising, this is a great time to kind of reset, recharge, reinvent, and decide who you want to be this year. The first house is the only house that's really all about who you are. So, it's really you just deciding who you want to be this year and starting that, taking that first step in that direction, right? And as Capricorn, you are focused on results and tangible things that you can see, touch, feel, hear, sense. And so that's all of my earth signs. They're about the senses. And so for my Capricorns, you may want to think about your aesthetic, what you want to become this year, what you want to achieve this year, and how you want the year to transform you. Okay? And that's for my Capricorn risings. It's a really, really beautiful thing for you guys to start the year and start the solstice with the first house of self. Yeah, that's hopefully that aligns for you. Let's keep going. So for my Aquarius rising, this is happening in your 12th house of secrets and isolation. And so I was thinking about this on my way to work today about the 12th house and about how it's kind of if the rising sign is where the sun's coming up on the horizon, so it's almost the brightest house in your chart, then the 12th house is the darkest house in your chart. And so it kind of reminded me of the new moon. And it kind of reminded me of the sun as it's digging down into that depth before it emerges. The 12th house is where seeds can be planted. It's a good germinating space for new discoveries, for new things that you want to make sure that you eventually are willing to share. But it's a very small secret place for Aquarius to be starting a new year and to be kind of determining what you're going to grow, what you're, even things that you don't want to talk about yet, even ways that you don't necessarily know how things will manifest, or things that you want to kind of keep to yourself. But it's a very special moment for my Aquarius rising to be starting the solar cycle in your 12th house of secrets. Grumbling is very Capricornian. Get to work and then, kind of grumble about it, but achieve, and it will be worth it. It will be worth it. I promise you. Absolutely. Let's move on to Pisces. For my Pisces, this is a very social time to be starting a new year and a new solar cycle in your 11th house of acquaintances, friends, social circles, and well-wishers. Okay, so this is really about For my Pisces rising, good. I'm so glad, Wildflower. For my Pisces rising, I want you to think about what you need from people, what you hope to gain from people as you move into this new year and getting to a place where you can ask for that. Okay. I want Pisces, as you know, if there's any Pisces rising in the chat, I want you to work on figuring out how you're going to petition the well wishers, right? Fucking love y'all. Fucking love y'all. All right, let's move on to Aries. For Aries rising, this is in the 10th house of career. And this is a great time, a great place for this because Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is in Capricorn right now where it's exalted. So this is really a great time for Aries to be setting intentions about what they want their career to be. And this isn't just daily work and daily toiling, but career, prestige, acknowledgement, all of that. So this is for Aries, very simple, very clear cut on where they want to go in terms of their career, their fame, and their reputation. Okay? Very exciting for Aries. Yes. Let's move on to Taurus. Okay. For Taurus, this is happening in a very spiritual place. This is a new year and a new solar cycle that's happening in the 9th house of spirituality, of higher learning, of that what we call the house of God. Okay, so this is maybe something that for my Taurus risings, you want to be focusing in on your relationship to your higher power. I always think of this house as like the God seeker in you. You know what I'm saying? Like the part of you that's just reaching and reaching for higher and reaching for that connection with God. Whatever that means for you. Yeah, absolutely. So that's for my Taurus rising. Then for Gemini, we have this happening in our 8th house of shared resources, intimacy, what people owe us and what we owe them, the deepest of exchanges. Okay. So for Gemini, this is where we want to really start thinking about our deepest connections, what they mean for us and how they benefit us and how we benefit those that are closest to us. Oh, Gemini rising 24. Okay, great. Soul's hysteria. And so this is really important about like how you're going to grow in terms of your deepest connections, whether it's figuring out how to draw the 8th house. You really need to have boundaries. You really need to know what you have to offer. Let's circle back to that 2nd house of worth and think about that worth in terms of how much and what you're willing to give to others, to the people that you're closest to. Yep. Absolutely. And so when you think about your worth and your resources and how those things are gifts that you exchange with others that are the deepest of your karmic connections, those commitments that you make to those that are closest to you, that is where you want to be setting intentions about how you want to show up for people and how you want people to show up for you in this new year, right? Oh, wonderful. You just had this combo. Good. So that's really beautiful for my Gemini risings is your worth and your resources in terms of what you have to give others and what you don't have. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Yep, overextending to fit in spaces, absolutely. And we're back at Cancer. So hopefully this was good for you guys. I'll probably go live again tomorrow to dig into the new moon because I had some thoughts. Yeah, that was fun. I had some thoughts on the new moon, which is in Sagittarius. So, I'm glad you liked it, Spirit of Love. So for tomorrow, we'll talk about the new moon, even if it's not a time where you want to necessarily charge your crystals or set intentions like you want to set them on Sunday, it's still a good moment to take a look at how there's a germination happening, even if we're not working with the new moon, in the Sagittarius realm of your chart. Okay. And then there's a lot of other things that are this a new moon starts a new cycle. So I want to talk about the new lunar cycle, on how the things that are started on Friday, tomorrow, it's being ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is in Cancer, and all these planets that are in Sagittarius will move into Capricorn, where they will meet Cancer in an opposition. Yeah, there's so much happening in Sag. Sag is always doing the most. Bigger, better, brighter, burning out till solstice time, when it's time to shift into Capricorn, where Capricorn's like, okay, enough party. What are we doing? Right? So that's the shift that we're going to be feeling, the great shift that we'll feel on Sunday. But in the meantime, Sag is going to ride this party till the wheels fall off, and that's why we're feeling so exhausted. Yeah, exactly. I'm tired. At the beginning of Sag season, I was like, okay, yes, we got out of Scorpio season. There was a lot happening with Scorpio season, and Sag just felt like a breath of fresh air, but now I am out of air. Totes out. Sag moon and North Node. Oh, wow. And you're a Cancer rising? Sag moon and North Node. That's wonderful. Okay, so, and we have Cancer on the horizon right here. So if you're Sag moon, then that means your moon and North Node is in the 6th house um of sacrifice and health and your daily work and what you work hard for. And yeah, Sag North Node, that means that there's an emphasis there, and that what I would say for you is to not let your, with the moon there, especially since your rising sign is ruled by the moon, and then the moon is ruled by Jupiter and Saturn, or in Sagittarius, I would say what you want to make sure of is that you don't let daily toiling make you feel like your worth. You want to watch how the everyday grind starts to wear you down. Okay? And the North Node will kind of make you feel like you have to keep, the North Node is like the head of the dragon that's always hungry. So with the Cancer rising in the moon in the 6th and Sagittarius with the North Node, I would say it's really important for you to make sure that you disconnect from that grind, and letting that be something that dictates always how you feel, because we are not we're not what we do. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of creativity and softness, and a lot of lush energy there with the Cancer rising. And it's a very cyclical life to be a Cancer rising. That means that there's different cycles, different phases, like the moon. And so you want to always keep in mind when you're going through a tough time that everything is cyclical. It's like the wheel card, in tarot. It keeps turning. The big wheel keeps turning. And that's really what the ancient astrologer that I follow, Vettius Valens, is always talking about being a soldier of fate, of making sure that despite whether we're in a good phase, and it's all about our fortune, whether we're in a good fortune or bad fortune, that we're keeping in mind that the wheel is always turning, especially for a cyclical lifetime like a Cancer rising. Yeah. Oh, and you're a Cancer moon wildflower. Cancer moon brings all your cheers to the yard. Yes, a soldier of fate, because regardless of which way fate is tossing and turning us, we want to walk that steady path down the middle. We want to not be swayed one way or the other by good fortune or bad fortune. We stay steady and we stay maintained. We stay grounded. It's very Capricorn energy. We stay grounded and we keep in mind that we know that the wheel keeps turning, that the cycle keeps moving, that the only thing that's constant is the turning. So yeah, and I'm tired now, y'all. We got 50 minutes. I don't know if I'm gonna make it to an hour. I'm gonna play a song. I really like Christmas songs at the end. Like, I don't know why, but holiday music makes me feel. Thank you guys. Yeah, I'm so tired. It's been such a long day getting those puppets. So let's rock out to a little let's see. This is one of my favorite holiday songs. I'm an elder millennial. So this reminds me of Home Alone. Party hop. So you guys, I hopefully will see you tomorrow around 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yes, Home Alone. It's that scene where he's like, the robbers come to hash out the place, and he knows they're coming, so he's got all of the, like, the Michael Jordan cut out cardboard Michael Jordan, and he's got all the motion in the party going, only it's a fake party. Very Sagittarius. Of holly rocking around the Christmas tree at a happy holiday. Everyone dancing merrily in the new old-fashioned way. All right, y'all. Love you guys so much. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And happy Venus night. Yep. Yes, very much so. Home Alone for real. Bye, guys.